In a world where the news feels bigger, louder, and harder to make sense of, Canadians need more than headlines. Hi, I'm Karen Ciolin, news reporter and host of the Big Story podcast. From world-shaping events to the everyday stories that spark debate, my team and I will explain what matters and why it matters to you. We're here to help you make sense of the news and give you the context you need for those kitchen table conversations. Trusted, Canadian-focused, curious. Listen to The Big Story wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Norm. If you heard last week's episode, you know that there was a problem with my microphone that persisted throughout the episode, and my attempts to fix it were disastrous. So I'm going to give you the raw audio. Does not sound awful, but it's there. This is, however, the last time you have to listen to it, because I'm pretty sure I fixed it. It's just that I recorded this week's episode and last week's show on the same day. So, anyway, my guess sounds great. Here we go. What? Hey, hi. Welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner. I'm a critic, consultant, and programmer based in Toronto, and this is The Other Thing I Do. My guest this week is Gloria Mercer, a Vancouver director and producer who spent the last decade or so making quiet, observant short films about women finding themselves at a crossroads. And now she's developed one of them into a feature. A Safe Distance stars Bethany Brown as Alex, who says no to a life she doesn't want and finds herself alone in the BC mountains. But then she meets a young couple, played by Tandia Mercedes and Cody Kearsley, who live off the grid and sometimes rob people. Drawn to their freedom and their hotness, Alex finds herself thinking about the sort of life she does want and how far she's willing to go to get it. A Safe Distance had its world premiere at South by Southwest earlier this year, and this Thursday, July 30th, it makes its Canadian debut at Fantasia in Montreal. Tickets are still available at fantasiafestival.com. You should see it. Gloria picked Thieves Like Us, Robert Altman's 1974 adaptation of Edward Anderson's 1937 novel, which had previously been brought to the screen by Nicholas Ray as They Live by Night. Both movies followed a trio of Depression-era bank robbers making their way through Mississippi, but Altman's film is quieter and more eccentric, focusing on the relationship between Keith Carradine's Callow Bowie and Shelley Duvall's quiet young Kichi, who wants him to give up the criminal life and settle down before the law catches up with him. It's another in the string of classics Altman made in the early 70s, though with this one it took a little longer for people to come around. Not Gloria, though. This is someone else's movie.
Altman's one of my guys. I love him. And I first watched this movie 6 or 7 years ago for the first time, and I really loved it. I love that it's Altman doing the thing that he really does quite well, which is he's doing this low-key, shaggy take on a genre we're familiar with and sort of taking this genre and then weaving it into something really compelling that totally subverts what you're expecting, while also introducing us to weird, unconventional heroes that you just don't see in other movies. So, and then at the same time, I also just, I don't know, it ended up being really influential on some other stuff that I made later. So, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm kind of surprised it took you so long to get to it, but at the same time, it is one of those movies that, had it not emerged in that tiny window where he did era-defining, film-changing, brain-expanding work.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised to find out that it isn't as well regarded now. And in some cases, it's because, it got drowned out by the praise over literally every other movie he made.
Yeah.
This is between The Long Goodbye and Nashville, I think.
Yeah, The Long Goodbye, and then this, and then Nashville comes a little later, with some others peppered in, in a 4-year window or whatever.
No, it's incredible.
It's insane.
Then subsequently, for whatever reason, it was the last of his movies to emerge on DVD. It was out on
really?
I had the Laserdisc for decades before the DVD came out, and it was really bizarre.
That. Oh, wow.
Never figured out why. I think it was just that MGM was getting its rights knocked around, but for whatever reason, it just got this sort of lesser Altman reputation, but it is, I think it's as good as anything else he's done in that window.
It's interesting. My partner was just Googling it because we watched it the other night, and I think it was, you should fact check this, but I think it was Pauline Kael actually at the time was this is going to be the one he's remembered for. So, but then it's not at all. So yeah, it's interesting what sticks. but it's a great film. I really love it.
Yeah. Have you seen the earlier version? The earlier, because it's a remake of sorts.
I wanted to watch it and I did not have time, but I have heard a bit about it. I've heard it's very different.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually the more faithful adaptation. And I think maybe that worked against it as well, because the other one, the changes that it makes are more aggressive and dynamic, I suppose. And Altman just doesn't care about moving the plot forward. He just wants to hang out with these people and see who they are when they're not robbing banks.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, that's interesting that it's a more faithful adaptation. I mean, I think I'd love to watch that film, and it's on the list.
It's out there.
I just rewatched this movie, like I said, and I you touched on it earlier, but just I really love how Altman does not care about moving the plot forward, and this is a movie that is it's a take on the Lovers on the Run story. Like it's a crime thriller in its description, but it's really just a hangout movie, and I think I really love. I mean, the first Altman movie I came to was McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and that was just knocked me over. So then coming to this is it's doing similar things, which is great. I just love how committed he is to completely undercutting the tension. Basically every single moment in this film, with some very key exceptions that come later and are amazing. But I don't know, I could just talk about them, I guess. I love how the very first time you see someone, you see Bowie, it's Bowie and T-Dub and I'm forgetting
Chickamauga.
Chickamauga, thank you. The three of them stick up the driver because they're escaping from prison, and they have this little chatty conversation where he just sort of is talking and they're listening, and then finally they pull the gun into frame, and it's just the silliest stick up. It's a very funny movie, and while also having some darkness.
Well, the jokes that people are constantly telling are 201. They're inane. They're wordplay, and they're silly, and they're all jokes about other people being dumb. And I was trying to figure out this time through, because I rewatched it the other night as well, what it is that Altman is getting at. And I think this time it sort of clicked for me watching Kichi.
Yeah.
None of these people, they can all read. They're all literate. They're always passing newspapers around. But I don't think a lot of them went to school. And then you start thinking about what era it is and when they were kids and what it would have been like. It's a completely different world. And so the way they relate to each other is all through, I'm just this little tiny bit smarter than you. But I don't know that they actually are. They're all they all feel kind of like equals.
I was thinking the same thing as I watched it, because there's a really great moment. I think I wrote it down, or I didn't write down, but I'm going to paraphrase. But T-Dub is he says something along the lines of just I regret my first bank robbery because I could have really done something with my brain, basically. And what if I had gone into something else and then Bowie is oh, it would always have been this for me, this or pitching baseball, basically. And so but it's so interesting because it's you're totally right. It is and I think it's interesting that Altman was born in the 20s, I think, and this movie set in the 30s, and he's from geographically not the same place, but a similar place. I think it's Missouri and Mississippi.
Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel maybe there's a familiarity with the material there, and just it really does feel it's a movie about these people, I mean, who are lacking opportunity and have this disillusionment, which I guess is not a hot take, but it's it's just really interesting to see Bowie, who basically is this sort of hapless simpleton, I guess, and just how he thinks that he wouldn't have ever had any other opportunity, and this is sort of the best shot he's got. Although I think the movie's kind of shrewd, and it maybe shows you that there's more going on. It is he becomes more complicated as the film goes on.
Well, he's the one who's observing. He's watchful when the other two aren't. Chickamauga is just perfectly happy to just drink himself into a stupor and flail around, and it's where his anger goes, right? That's how he copes, I guess. T-Dub is a creep, and but gets what he wants because he's violent, and or the potential of violence is there.
Yeah.
And he's sort of charming in that broken old man kind of way. Although, what is he, 43, 44? There's a point where they talk about how old they are, and it's just, oh, it's horrifying. Chickamaugh's in his 30s, and
Oh no.
T-Dub's in his mid 40s, and when we meet Bowie, he's 23, I think, right? Because he went to prison when he was 16. And their ages get thrown around the first time they break out, and the first time they get after the second or third bank robbery. But their ages are thrown around a couple of times,
Right.
And yes, I mean, of course, people drank and smoked and looked much older than they were, even in the 70s, right? Because we hadn't figured a lot of stuff out, like sunblock and exercise.
Sure.
But to see how limited all of these guys are in their means, when they should be able to, like, our brains are telling us that's not that old, you can start again, you don't have to do this. But yeah, they're all lifers in this.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about the structure is that we get to see all three of them, the young, middle-aged, and old, relatively speaking, and how Chickamauga is absolutely not where Bowie is going, because Bowie has a better heart, but T-Dub is. Like, he's going to turn into T-Dub if he's not careful.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he clings to Kichi, because he is a total innocent. And despite all the, robbing and gun wielding and plotting, he never shoots anybody. But he's an accomplice. So of course, he's just as guilty. And someone says, I think at one point, you don't have that in you.
Mm-hmm.
And after everything we've seen, it's absolutely true. Keith Carradine has this little sunniness to him. He's always smiling, and he's always kind of trying to talk his way out of problems rather than punch or shoot. And none of it helps him.
Although we know, or we don't know, but when we meet him, it's like he's in prison for murder, and he has this really sort of throwaway thing where she's like, "Did you shoot that guy?" And he's like, "Well, it was him or me, basically."
Oh, that was the second murder. That's right. I forgot about that.
Now I'm not sure if I'm getting the details right, but
the murder beef is that he went to prison for something somebody else did, but he was there.
Right.
And then there was a killing.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. But no, you're completely right. Well, I feel like this is a movie, like with many Altman movies, where I go on tangents, so I don't want to get too just completely rolling off in another direction. But I found it interesting when I was watching it, because I found myself thinking a lot about MASH, which because it feels to me almost like Altman was so interested, I think, in just like young people feeling really disillusioned with the system, and and I don't know, I don't really know how, I just find it's really fascinating that he kind of places that on the crime thriller, and it just feels very modern in that it feels like it's a 70s movie, even though it is like a Depression era. I think those two movies are interestingly linked, in my opinion.
I think so too. I think he's always interested in the way that systems betray the people who work in them. To the point where the murder doesn't really matter in The Long Goodbye, except to one person.
Yeah.
Or McCabe and Mrs. Miller, where progress is kind of the villain ultimately, right? I mean, everybody wants a piece of the new thing, and it doesn't care at all about them. And then you get this, and it's the Great Depression. There is a sense of, I love the fact that there's no score. It's only what we hear on radios and what people play for each other, because it just feels even more desolate and isolated. I mean, there's electricity everywhere, and then theoretically there could be more music around, but you only have what people choose to listen to, and they're not listening to music. They're listening to radio plays and the news, because they're interested in themselves. But it's so still and quiet all the time. It feels like the world is dying.
Yes. Although on that note, the Romeo and Juliet radio play gag is so funny. It's so stupid. It's so stupid, but it's so funny. I love how it's so funny. But yes, you're totally right. Like the radio, and the music being so sparing. And also, I don't know how this ties in, but just the extreme prominence of Coca-Cola in the movie is so interesting. It's clearly, it's just such an American film. And I feel like these are things that Altman is doing, not subtly at all, to just be like, I don't know, just commenting on where this all came from and like just reminding us. But yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody has any money. People are returning glass bottles. 5 glass bottles gets you 5 cents for another Coke, and just that constant rotation of it's not even consumerism, but it's just like this omnipresent identity that's happening to them, not by choice. It's the thing everybody's drinking because it's hot out, and this one very clever brand has found that market and will not let it go.
It's also funny because like I'm not really a big pop drinker, if I'm being honest, and I'm just like Coca-Cola in like not the desert, but it's so hot. And like she's like, Shelley Duvall's pregnant, and I'm like, so much Coca-Cola on such a hot day. But it is like, well, this is what we got. It's like easier to drink this than, I don't know, to presumably the drinking water ain't great.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
I'm speculating, but yeah, it just really paints like a picture of the vibe, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And there are cars, but people don't know how to drive them very well.
Yeah, they crash into each other.
There's a crash. Well, yeah, he's distracted. But even when other people are sort of struggling with them because they're all manual and you got to use a clutch, and T-Dub doesn't have enough toes to work a clutch.
Yes, I actually didn't think about that. I know because he mentioned, but yes, also, and on the topic of the cars and like the getaway driver of it all, another one of my favorite moments where he's undercutting this tension is the scene where they draw straws, and just like you're saying, like T-Dub keeps getting the short straw and being like, well, I can't drive it. It's just so goofy. Like I don't know. I love that the movie just repeatedly, not that I'm saying it's just a goofy like romp, but it's like, I love that the movie just is very committed to taking these little meanders between these guys, and just like, it's just such a great example of them not being cool at all. Like they're not cool bank robbers. They're just like, they're just doing their best and working it out. And I guess they could be pretty bumbling because at the time they could get away with that. And just like you're saying, like the getaway car is not a fast car, and it's not, they don't speed from the scene, but it all works out.
Yeah. They're resolutely small time.
Yeah.
To the point that they start generating headlines. It's because, and again, it's explicitly laid out in their dialogue that they speak to each other and therefore to the audience. Like the bankers are keeping stuff too. Everybody's screwing everybody else. The securities that are worth so much more than the cash that they actually take are kept by the bankers and declared for the insurance, but it's chalked up to the robbers. So they're getting away. They're perceived to be much better at what they do and getting away with much bigger scores than they actually are, because that makes for better ink in the papers, right? Like they're not, I mean, they're not victims. These guys have chosen to do crime, but they are taken advantage of even more so, I think, than the banks that they are robbing.
Yeah.
They're not winning in any of this. And they're just, all they want is to have a house somewhere or to get away and own a motel. Like their dreams are actually really conventional and
reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. They just can't make the money any other way.
Yeah, it's totally like about opportunity, and in that, which is so much in so many of his films, right? Like it's, I mean, I guess I'm just thinking of McCabe, but which is such a like movie about capitalism, but it just, I don't know. I love that. I also wanted to, not that I feel like this is such a big topic, but you mentioned earlier Kichi, and just like, so I had watched this movie, several years ago, and I, like many films, it sort of becomes this swirl of memories in your mind where you're like, I remember the feeling of it. I remember that they're robbing banks, but the moment from the film that just felt very crystal clear in my memory was the moment with Louise Fletcher and Shelley Duvall at the end. I don't know how much I should say, but it's like, it's the moment when Kichi sees Bowie being killed and Louise Fletcher is holding her back. And it's just like, if the movie has been so committed to undercutting every bank robbery, and like you only see the first bank robbery like an hour and 35 minutes in or something like that, and it's played in a high angle, like a wide high angle, just very sort of surveilling the situation and extremely non-emotional. Somebody is shot and it's very non-emotional, and then all these moments where they're doing these very dramatic quote unquote things are so underplayed. And then you get to this moment where Kichi sees Bowie being shot, and it's just the most powerful and evocative, and he shoots it in slow motion, which is, whatever, a cinema trick. And but it's just all Shelley Duvall like playing it on her face, and then Louise Fletcher right along with her, like the two of them, and it's like so powerful, and they're both such like amazing performers, and so I don't know, it's really interesting to me how the movie Kichi kind of sneaks in and steals the show, which, I mean, it's Shelley Duvall, so obviously she's gonna do that, but I don't know, I like it's like a real gut punch, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the cost of all of it on Shelley Duvall's face that registers with us, because right up until then, it's kind of a lark. Yeah, I mean, Bowie's been Bowie's been in a car accident, and he's been banged up, and she's nursing back to health, but all that stuff is still part of the story that you expect to see. And I mean, this is what, 5 years, 6 years after Bonnie and Clyde. Everybody knows it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
But Altman plays with that too. Like, I love the constant presence of a gun as a toy. That you have this loaded weapon throughout the film, and you know what it will do. It's just, it's not even Chekhov's gun. It's even more annoying because there's the scene where T-Dub and Chickamaw have the kids pretend to be bank tellers, and Chickamaw gets too caught up in it and starts waving his gun around. And
I love that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. Yeah.
Every time I watch it, I am so tense. And I know nothing's going to happen. I've seen the movie, but it conveys the sense of like these long unbroken shots where the camera is far enough away that you get the sense that the film itself is scared of what might happen. The energy is so weird. And oh God, yeah, it's excruciating.
I love this. The fake stick up scene is so good. And I love how nonchalant his whole family is about the fact that they are like harboring criminals. I love that Lula keeps giving T-Dub like manicures. It's so funny. Like, but it's completely like, it's not just funny because the whole time you were like, but something has got to go wrong because there is a gun, and there is like that their picture is in the paper, right? Like that it's only a matter of time. And then I think, it's like this magic trick where I guess like I haven't seen Bonnie and Clyde for a little while, but it's like instead of just this big blow up where it's like their relationship kind of exploding and like their dreams shattered, it is all just placed on Kichi and like how much this is taken from her because she only wanted to have an opportunity, and like Bowie and Kichi like are very kindred in a lot of ways, even though they're also really different. But it's just like it's so she just does, it's like incredible. And I think like it's like the two of them, like Altman and Duvall, have such an amazing history of collaboration. It's just very special.
Hey, it's Norm, interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on Shiny Things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the odd streaming project. Last week, I wrote about new collections of Lucille Hadjihalilovic and early French-Canadian cinema, as well as a few other catalog titles. And, as always, subscribers to the paid tier got my exclusive What's Worth Watching dispatch on Friday. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io and get yourself caught up. You like reading about movies? I like writing about them. Come check it out. The thing about casting Carradine and Duvall then as opposed to now, right? Like they have a history too as a result, right? Because of all their work. But this is like that incandescent moment where they're both so young and they're clearly playing kids who do the things they do without fully understanding what they're getting into. Like, I don't think Kichi wants necessarily to get pregnant, but that's just how the world works. And she doesn't get that yet. Yeah. But the way that their contrasts in moral code keep clashing with each other really subtly. Like he's play acting at being a criminal. He's doing it, but he's still trying to go home and be a regular guy. And I think that's the real Bowie, but he doesn't understand that the thing you pretend to be is the thing that you are, especially when it involves waving guns in people's faces and robbing banks. And Kichi is playing house with him, but I don't know what her reality is because we never see it. She's quiet, she's studious, she reads books. Like she has a better moral code than anybody else in the movie, and she's the one who chooses to bend it so she can be with Bowie, but she knows it's wrong. And I think that that's what makes her final scene so powerful. That shot is of everything crashing down on Kichi and her realizing that this is the thing that she could never get away from, whereas he was just kind of cavalierly running towards it the whole time. She really believed this wouldn't happen, even though she knew it would.
There's this really sweet scene. It's sweet, but it's like so sad also, when it's like, I think the movie's pivoting into like this like sort of percolating tension that sort of turns to like maybe doom, that then turns to just like, you kind of know that you're about to hit the wall. There's the moment where he comes back from, I think it's when he comes back from like breaking Chickamauga out.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back to their little house that they have, and I might be getting my moments mixed up, but he comes back to their house and she's really sad because he lied to her. And she's like, I packed a bag, I'm gonna go. And he's like, okay. And he gives up very fast. Like he does, like, I don't know how he feels. Maybe he doesn't, he feels more strongly than he's letting on, but he gives up very fast. And she's got her bag packed and she's got her hair up in curls, like little rag curls.
Hmm.
And then she goes to the mirror and she takes half of them out. And then she plays the rest of the scene, like Altman plays the rest of the scene with her hair half up, which I think is just like so clever. And just like this lovely little visual, like, you know, interpretation of how she is torn between two worlds. Maybe, I don't know, it's just sweet. And she goes back to him and she says something along the lines of just like, you know, I'm not gonna go. She tells him she's gonna stay, and then she says like, you would have made me stay. And she just goes through this process of convincing herself out loud that Bowie would have put up the fight to make her stay. And it's just so heartbreaking because it's like, there may be some truth to it. Like, maybe, I don't think Bowie wants her to go, although I also think that maybe he wants her to be safe and he doesn't want her to be involved. But she just like fully plays out the conversation to make herself feel like she can stay with him. And it is completely like, not only are they playing at the, you know, not only is Bowie kind of thinking that he can do things, but also that's not really who he is, but she is fully like putting this identity onto him and creating this life because she wants this little house, and she wants like to have like enough money to buy food, and she wants to have a person who will beg her to stay. And it's just so, I don't know, it's so effective. And we don't know, like, you're totally right, up until that point we don't get a sense really of who she is. Like, she's very kind of, she's just going along with what he's doing. And then I think that's the moment where you really see this is like a girl who wants to just have a very reasonable, like, just, you know, she wants a life where she is comfy and safe and happy with a person who loves her, who is not a wanted criminal. And it's just very sweet and effective.
Yeah, she's been hiding the whole time from us. Like, the movie has been keeping us from seeing anything other than a girlfriend or a sidekick or whatever it is however you want to classify her in a genre film. But this isn't a genre film. It just keeps, it's what you were saying. He just refuses to be the thing that he's making. He makes it better and richer and just doesn't worry about hitting the plot points and the requirements of the audience's expectations. He's giving us what we need, not what we want.
Yeah, it's just, it's so cool. I don't know. It's the magic trick. It's maybe you can speak to this, because it's my understanding that as an adaptation, it's giving her more than the source material did, but maybe I'm wrong.
I haven't read the book, but I know there's one significant change, which is that she was killed originally, and she's not.
Interesting.
She survives. She's literally protected by Maddie, by Louise Fletcher's character, who has, finked on him and called the police or the Texas Rangers or whoever it is to show up. And Maddie won't let her join him.
Yeah.
And I think that is absolutely something that Joan Tewksbury brought to it as a screenwriter. I can feel it, because she is so concerned. She protects women in Altman's films from the violence of his worlds almost all the time in the films they've written together. And not all of them. Sometimes there's a dramatic death that has to, like, the whole point of it is the catharsis of the movie, and you can't get away from it. But I do notice that in a lot of her work for him, she is really careful. Everyone in an Altman film has interiority, and I don't want to say that he had a blind spot for women because he absolutely didn't, but he also frequently would use female characters and actors as chess pieces more than the men to sort of motivate the plot and do things. Like the thing I've never been able to forget about Altman, when the Player was making the awards rounds, Cynthia Stevenson told a story in a bunch of, it showed up in Premiere Magazine at least, but there were a couple of other interviews that ran it, where she said that she was initially flattered that Altman had asked her to have the nude scene instead of Greta Scacchi. She's topless in a hot tub. And I'd preface this by saying it was a different time and everyone was on cocaine. But but that was simply, that was simply accepted, that there would be nudity in an art film. And an Altman film was always, there was a lot of casual nudity, male and female, but the way he framed it afterwards was he wanted to show the audience the breasts of the woman they didn't expect to see, as opposed to Greta Scacchi, who was doing nude scenes in a lot of other movies, except he didn't use the word breast. And it was like, it was really revealing to me. That sort of clarified a lot about his 70s and 80s films. And it's not misogynistic, but I don't know that he was as considerate of the female characters in his stories as Tewksbury was when she wrote them, because there's always a bigger sense of that in her scripts, in his movies, or rather in his movies that have her scripts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, he strikes me as a person, and like I say this without, I guess, knowing this, who just like, he finds faces and he finds people. Like he sort of famously discovered Duvall, who had never acted before. He strikes me as a person that, like, when he has these very strong, I say strong, it's a loaded term, but just like powerful, I guess, like interesting female characters in his films, like it feels like they got there because, I guess, of his sort of fascination with people and the collaboration and his willingness to kind of find, I guess, these unconventional characters and bring them in. And then they end up being, and I guess end up being maybe takes away his agency, but like like you're saying, through, I guess, like the script being interested in it and him being interested in just sort of exploring interesting performances in like sort of these maybe non-actors, or because I know Shelley Duvall obviously became an actor, but I feel like Kichi just like, comes across so strongly because he's just so in love with Duvall, and then it ends up being there. And then also, like you're saying, like the script is very interested in it. I just went off on a tangent. I think
it's
all
a hard
the time.
thing it's a hard thing to navigate too. I mean, when you think, I'm thinking about something like in Match, where just like Hot Lips is absolutely, the movie doesn't like her. She's an authority figure, but the film is not on her side ever.
That's a really tough one. Yeah. It's funny. I watched MASH for the first time. I think it's like maybe the most recent Altman. I kind of held out on watching it for a long time. And I was surprised how much I liked it, because I just think it has such a mixed reputation. But there are parts of it where it's just like, well, this hard to defend, but and then there's other parts that I think are really subversive and interesting. But speaking to like the female characters, I mean, Julie Christie in McCabe is just like, I think she's just like amazing, and it's such an interesting, like, I find that movie such a feminist movie because of what she's doing with all those girls and how and I don't want to talk about McCabe Miss Miller, not the movie that we're talking about, but yeah, it's fascinating. It feels like he just is very willing to let these characters like take the movie where they want to. And to me, like in Thieves Like Us, the camera feels very improvisational. It often does in Altman movies, where like he plays with the zoom and he just like will follow a performance and he'll follow a moment. And then his movies are so often about these small moments. They really like make it. So it feels like we sort of fall into these really just great moments with these really interesting women, maybe because of a willingness to just like play and explore on his part, like in part, I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't mean to suggest that he wasn't hard on his male characters either.
No,
of course. I realize now it's like it's not that he gave all of his female characters a hard time. It's just that
No.
frequently the stories he's telling are like deeply rooted in male identity and power and ego, and certainly bank robbing is a guy's job most of the time. And maybe that's it too. Like his answer film to Bonnie and Clyde, the way he approaches this material is to say, not everybody was beautiful, not everybody got what they wanted. These people aren't smart. Clyde Barrow's not a genius in that movie either, and it's an incredible performance by Beatty. And I kind of wonder, this follows McCabe so closely. Maybe he was thinking about it after he worked with Beatty, right? Like maybe that's something he was out to do.
I thought about that too. Yeah. Also, I just want to say that Warren Beatty in Bonnie and Clyde is like an all-timer himbo performance. I think he's like, when I started watching more Beatty films, I was just like, we don't talk enough about how this man is so good at playing stupid. And I think, and I didn't expect that when I first watched Bonnie and Clyde, but yeah, I know it's interesting. Maybe he, what if we'd gotten Warren Beatty in Thieves Like Us? Wouldn't that be crazy?
Well, who would he have played? Do you think he would have played Bowie or Chickenbone?
Yeah, I know. I guess age-wise, I mean, would he even have been closer in age to T-Dub? I'm not sure how old he was at that time.
Yeah, he's probably, by that point, he would have probably been, well, what is it, like 10 years after his earlier films, like Lilith and Mickey 1. So, yeah, he's in his 30s, I think.
Yeah.
So he could have done it. But again, it's
he could do anything.
Yeah, it's true. At that point in time, he could have actually done anything he wanted. But like John Schuck is such a perfect choice for that role because he has this bearing. I have seen interviews with him. He was a great TV comedy guy in the 60s and 70s. So seeing that energy directed towards violence and stupidity is distressing.
And just, he has this physicality. He's like, just like an animal. Like because he has this like crazy like jaw and this like, it feels like he's just like, when he opens his mouth to like holler, it's just like, so it's very effective. Like he's just like such an animalistic while also being, not entirely, but it's really cool.
I know, physically, he's the most imposing of the three. And
sure.
The most impatient, which is really becomes really funny because he can't hide how frustrated he is with almost everything that's happening around him. He's just like constantly shifting his body and chewing something that isn't there and is like grinding his back molars somehow, which shouldn't physically be possible, but that's why his face looks like that. It's just great.
Yeah. I want to, if it's okay, go back to something you said earlier, because I think we got off on a tangent, but I think it is really interesting how this movie does sort of just like sneak in at the end, this like the two women coming together. And even though Kichi does not want to be restrained in that moment, and she's like, obviously very distraught, but I think it's really interesting, like how Maddie, these three criminals drop into her life, and you just get the sense that she is taking care of Lula. I'm not sure who the kids are. I don't know if we know, who's the kids are. Like, I always sort of got the impression they were Lula's, but maybe they're not.
That's interesting. I thought all three of them were Maddie's and Bud's, T-Dub's brother who's in prison.
Right. I don't know. I just get this impression that she's like begrudgingly is maybe not the right word, but she's just taking care of everybody. Oh, yeah. And it's really interesting because she doesn't complain and she just does it. She makes dinner and then like, and I love how we take it for granted, I guess, a little bit, or I mean, they certainly do, like the characters certainly take it for granted how much she sort of takes care of them all. And she's really like a background in the movie. Like she's sort of passing through these scenes. And then I just love that the movie comes in and gives her this big moment. And it is like, because I'm really interested in just like movies telling stories about how women help each other and often how it is like in the background. And I just love that about this movie, how it just comes in and ties those two things together with these two women who have kind of become supporting characters in the lives of these very dangerous men and who are then surviving that. And it's just, and then like talk about opportunities and what opportunities they have. I don't know how much they can like work and make their own money, and all the men in their lives are like going to jail or being killed, and they're just trying to like scrape by and take care of their babies. And it's like, I don't know. It's lovely that the movie, like, that's what Altman chooses to like take the time on and dramatize in like such a big way. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah. It's a
Anyway.
beautiful bit of casting too,
Yeah.
because Fletcher had basically retired from acting for a decade. This was the first time she'd made a movie in 10 years. She got married and she quit to raise her kids.
I
And
did not know that.
yeah, Keith Carradine tells a story about it in the special edition,
Oh, cool.
and it's this 35-minute rambling interview that basically covers his entire career, his life and career leading up to Thieves. And he says that she hadn't worked, and people were shocked at how much older she looked because this was an era without social media or anything. Like there was no sign of her. She disappeared from the world for 10 years to go live her
Right.
life.
Right.
And she comes back and she's older, and it's shocking to audiences at the moment, but it also perfectly distinguishes Maddie. Like she is someone who has raised kids and she doesn't wear makeup. She's not interested in glamour. And Fletcher was famously uninterested in any of that stuff. She just jumped right in, played the part, did the same thing the next year in Cuckoo's Nest as Ratchet, is playing someone who just doesn't care what she looks like as long as she projects authority. Here, she's doing a similar thing, but like the audience is sort of struggling at the time is sort of struggling with their memory of Fletcher and seeing this completely different person who's performing in a completely different way as this tired, angry. She's not, as you say, she's not bitter. She's doing what's expected, what she expects of herself, but she won't let that happen for Kichi. She's made that decision to spare Kichi from this life as the wife or the partner of a gangster or of a criminal.
Yeah.
And when she grabs her, she can't tell her, obviously, like she can't explain why this is happening, because I don't know that she even understands it, but Fletcher plays it all on her face. And it's just, it's this incredible moment. And we're all focused on Duvall because she's going through all the emotional stuff, but Maddie is too. It's just that you don't see it until the next time you watch the movie.
Yeah, and he I know he cuts around a bit in that section, but he keeps them both there in the frame when he's on them. I think basically, I mean, I guess there's a lot of movement, but it's lovely that he's just like they're like on these parallel trajectories, because you get the sense that like on some level, like Maddie has been through this experience, even if not literally, maybe not in such a big way, with her own like, romantic interest, going to jail, etc. And then Kichi's just in it, and it's just like you just see all that story. Yeah. Anyway, we could talk about that shot for 45 minutes.
Oh, it's incredible. And this is actually a good place to pivot because your movie is very much hinged on two women from very different backgrounds who find themselves in the same situation. And again, without going into too much detail, it is about the back and forth between what people want and what they want from each other, right? Becoming a conflict with what you want for yourself or what they want for themselves. And that's the back and forth that the movie plays, not just with that relationship and those characters, but also with starting where it does and then taking the whole film to catch up to it. You're seeding all this stuff about who and why and when and where that is inextricably tied to the decision to embrace criminality, like to do the thing that you're not supposed to do. And then that becomes a whole thing. Like, are you supposed to settle down and get married? Are you supposed to want a comfortable life? Are you supposed to want to rebel against the system? What does transgression mean? And then there's this whole other thing that's going on too, which we won't get into. But I did notice there is a very specific dialogue lift or homage to Thieves Like Us. It's like, well, the money's insured. We're here. It doesn't matter. Like there's that little throwaway line that comes straight out of it. And it feels like you're nodding towards a kinship, although the Great Depression of 1937 and the situations in Mississippi are very different from the here and now in BC, but they're also not, right? Like when you're far enough away from society, the situations are always the same. It's about people and what you do in the moment.
Yeah, I think like it's funny because a lot of the time lovers on the run stories and like these crime thrillers I mean, particularly Bonnie and Clyde and Thieves Like Us, which are movies we talked about a lot when we were making this movie. I say we, when I say we, I'm usually referring to my partner, Aidan West, who wrote the movie, and he produced it alongside myself and Nick Altobelli. But so we had this like sort of longish development trajectory where we talked about what the movie would be. And so anyway, so these lovers on the run stories, like Thieves Like Us, are often, like we've talked about, opportunity, right? It's like, it's what if you could sort of shortcut, I guess, kind of out of your life, or what if there was a way to get out of the life that you have and find freedom, right? So they're not usually about the money in the literal sense. It's about what do these people have and what do they want? Like, what do they have and what do they not have? And so I thought it was really interesting because a lot of the time when I make films, a thing that I'm interested in exploring is just like women, like sort of strong female characters and what, like I sort of mentioned earlier, like how women help one another as well. And hopefully this isn't giving like too much of a roundabout comment on all this, but I think like what when I came to Aidan and I told him I wanted to make a movie I told him I wanted to make a movie that was about women and contemporary relationships. And we talked, and then it was like a really long journey. And, you know, we talked about like, what if there was a woman and it was in the woods? And he sort of honestly was the one who suggested like, what if this is a more genre leaning film? And then it was like, oh, that like sort of sparked something, because what if we played with contemporary relationships and these sort of things, like how women deal with them and toxic masculinity and all these things, but in the genre of like a lovers on the run story. Now that I guess doesn't really relate to the money's all insured, but I think it is like, so we were really interested in telling a story that was about a woman who felt really trapped in a contemporary situation where it's not necessarily financial for her, but it is the sort of more contemporary, I guess, like she feels like she can't leave this relationship she's in and it's very dead end, and she has sort of spent her like 30s, so it's a little more, it's less dramatic maybe than like the Great Depression, but she has spent her 8 years of her life with this person and kind of made herself into, we used to talk a lot about she feels like a supporting character in her own life, and then through a sort of series of dramatic events she ends up in the woods and she finds this sort of firecracker of a woman who's like a bank robber on the run, who's played by Tandia, it's Kiana, and then that kind of opens up what her life could be and what she doesn't have, and what she wants to have in a way that she has never really seen before. But to speak to the bank robbing and the money being insured, yes, it was very fun. Yeah, it's like all these movies I think are basically playing with just like, what are these people, how wrong is what the thing is that these people are doing, right? Like how wrong would it be to just like give a little bit more to the people that need it? Not that they need it necessarily, and the movie kind of plays with that too, but I don't know. Yeah, so I guess like I was very inspired by what Altman does, which is taking a genre that we're familiar with and trying to put it in just a new and an unexpected direction. So I think for me, I wanted to just really play with, I guess, what these women could have in a way that felt maybe relatable to a normal person who doesn't rob banks, but that do so in a more genre context.
Yeah. I think your movie works the same way that Altman's movie works, because for all the rationalizing and intellectualizing and all the romanticism around the act of, taking money that doesn't belong to you, but also that no one will suffer for, at least if you convince yourself that that's why you're doing it, that nobody gets hurt, everything's fine. You also have that scene in the convenience store, the same way that Altman has the bank robbery where things go wrong, where we actually get to watch a guy get a gun pointed in his face and understand that it's the thing that David Lowery made a movie called The Old Man and the Gun with Robert Redford, like 5 or 6 years, probably longer than that, 2018 now, as an aging bank robber, a guy who like his gun's never loaded, he never hurt anybody, and he just does his stick-ups and the FBI is chasing him. And it's a true story and it's fine, but because it's Robert Redford, the movie is in love with him and doesn't understand that no one else knows the gun isn't loaded. Like every teller he's stuck up is seeing the muzzle of a gun pointed at their face. And I was really like, I find that kind of thing. Like, you need to give the audience the moment that understands that these people are lying to themselves. Mm-hmm. They are not the good guy, bad guys. They are still doing something that is traumatic and awful and puts people in fear of their own lives. And that little moment in the convenience store in your film and the moment in the bank robbery, well, there's several moments in Thieves Like Us, but it's like you can play act right up until a point, and then you're doing the thing that you're pretending to do.
Yeah.
And by not letting us off the hook as an audience, A Safe Distance also kind of plays with that. There's no sense of, I mean, it's fun right up until it isn't. And there's no sense of safety for the audience, which means we care even more about the characters who find themselves in the middle of it through like no fault of their own.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I was just thinking I don't want to say too much about the ending, but I will say, because a lot of like crime thrillers end poorly. And I think for us, like for its characters, I mean.
Badly for the characters, yeah.
Yes, quite badly for the characters. I mean, some have that, but no, yes, exactly. And we were really, I mean, we took some probably very obvious cues from The Graduate for our ending. And I think like it was very important to me, or I guess like I just wanted to play with ambiguity, like, and sort of to what you're saying, like who is hurt by this. And we don't know a lot about Kiana and Matt. Like we don't know, all we know about them is what they tell us, which is, I think, unreliable. Sort of depending, like it might not be the boat, we just don't know, right? So I think it was really fun to play with like Alex getting swept up into this world and then where she goes from there and what happens, like we just don't know if she made the right choice, which was really fun, I guess, just playing with that ambiguity. Because I think it's sort of, I don't know. I'm hoping that people will kind of take from it what they want to, and it will provoke discussion, because I think a lot of these movies want to have good guys and bad guys, and it's very fun to sort of play with like who did what wrong, and I don't think there's really a clean answer a lot of the time, but maybe that's being too forgiving of crime.
My thanks to Gloria Mercer, whose debut feature, A Safe Distance, has its Canadian premiere at Fantasia in Montreal this Thursday, July 30th, with a second screening on Friday the 31st. Thanks also to Angie Power and Jared Clarkson. They know what they did. You can find Gloria on Instagram at Dr. Gloria, all one word, DOCTOR, and you can find Thieves Like Us in an excellent 4K restoration from Cinematograph in North America and on Blu-ray from Radiance Films in the UK. It's not currently streaming anywhere, but you should be able to find a used disc somewhere in the bins. You can find me on Blue Sky at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, S-E-M-Cast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payup.com/Semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 40 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song is by The Last Year. If you like it, or the show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps. It truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, get all the boosters. I'll see you next week.